you start going. Yep. Talk 1, 2, 3. Talk 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Dario Conch's name tag is on the screen. Dude, imagine Dario's back. I had no idea. Knicks. Well, did you hear what I said about his name tag? It's on the sheet. I'm gonna talk like this, I'm gonna talk like that, I'm gonna talk like this. Alright.
Alright.
This thing
The Indiana Pacers are absolutely terrified of this, as the New York Knicks have found themselves back into a close series once again between them and the Indiana Pacers in a series that now has had a bunch of different stipulations involved. As the Knicks, where things stand right now, they were down 3-1 in a series that it felt like hope was lost between them and the Pacers, but then they made a bunch of changes that completely shifted the entire New York Knicks experience, and me and Matt are here to break all of that down for you guys. What's up? Welcome back to Knicks Happy Hour with Chris and Matt. The way the show initially was, back to the duo that kicked this all off one day over the winter when we decided to talk about the New York Knicks. And guys, what a time it is to be alive. The New York Knicks going into Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, the game that many people are expecting them to finally have their playoff NBA Finals hopes finished off. However, the Knicks made a bunch of changes, and the Pacers are absolutely horrified of the changes that they made, Matt. What we saw happen was Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, they both came in and they showed up and showed out for the New York Knicks. They went out there, they played excellent defense. They created a new vibe for this team. And also, most importantly, we saw a starting unit that was actually contesting shots, because what we saw was a starting unit that wasn't burnt out from playing 40-plus minutes a night. So it was easier to get out there, contest shots, control the pace of the game because you're making less sloppy mistakes. That's leading to the Pacers getting in transition and then being up 10 points to where you're playing catch-up where there's obviously going to be a greater sense of urgency. So, Matt, we've seen the Knicks completely shift this series around. And as long as they keep doing this, it's pretty reasonable to expect that the New York Knicks are going to be able to win this series. Now, 3-1 is a little bit difficult when you look at it. However, 3-2, that's easy. That's easily done. Teams come back from 3-2 all the time. That first win is the hardest one, the 3-1 comeback, because it's when it feels like there's the least amount of hope. Now the Knicks, yes, they do have to go into that Indiana market, which is not going to be tough, but they've already won there once. And Matt, we've talked about it already. The Knicks are so much better on the road than they are at home.
6-2 on the road so far in this postseason. The Knicks don't have anything to worry about on the road, but I got to disagree with you when you said that the first game of the 3-1 is the hardest one to win. That, I think that's the one where the other team is like, oh, we got this, we can rest a little bit. And that's when the Knicks were able to get up and jump on them. This is the hardest game to win. For the 3-1 comeback right here, it's an away game for us, which, yes, we're really good on the road, but you'd still prefer to be at home. And the Indiana Pacers, they know they have to lock in again. They know that we're going to come with a deeper roster. We're going to play the bench guys, and our starters are going to have more energy. And what's so important about playing the deep guys that other people I haven't heard them talking about is that gives these starters the opportunity to exert more energy on defense. We saw possessions where Mikal Bridges was basically hugging someone because he had the energy to run around with them the entire game. We got only 34 minutes out of Bridges and OG and Jalen Brunson. Usually those guys are up over 40 minutes a game. So having them down that low was very good to see. And getting 10 minutes out of DeLon Wright, 14 minutes out of Landry Shamet. This is not what we're used to seeing out of Tom Thibodeau. If we get just a little bit out of those guys, all they got to do, try really hard on defense, hit your open shots. We're not going to ask them to create offense. We're not going to ask them to score in the clutch, do anything extremely difficult. Just make sure you're rotating on defense. Make sure you're communicating on defense. Let's not give up any open looks and hit our open looks when we create them.
Yeah, I agree. I think something else that we've seen is First of all, Tom Thibodeau makes adjustments when he feels like his back is against the wall. That's when he decides to go away from his movement. I know people get upset about that, but let's be real. When you're an NBA coach, you're like, no, what I've done has worked this far. I'm going to make sure that it is a problem. And I agree that he should have been a lot quicker to make these changes. I'm not really saying that I agree with what he did, but I am saying that playing devil's advocate, there is an understanding on why he was doing what he was doing, considering that's what beat the Boston Celtics, the team that when the Knicks began the year, that was the goal, beat the Celtics. The Knicks did that. Unfortunately for them, it happened earlier than expected. So there was this weird shell shock kind of what felt like the Knicks were going some middling series where they're like, well, we beat the Celtics, we're going to go to the NBA Finals, we just have to beat this other team, and it felt like they discounted the Pacers. It felt like they did it first. In game 2, they didn't, but they just lost because the Pacers played better. In game 3, we saw the Knicks play better. In game 4, we saw the Pacers play better. In game 5, we saw the Knicks play better. So now it's been back and forth after a game 1 where the Knicks looked like the better team up until the final 45 seconds of the game. So, and the overtime, which was pretty 50-50. I mean, if Miles Turner didn't get a goaltend or got that goaltending called. And
Yeah, what goaltend? It looked clean to the officials.
I guess somehow, some way, that was clean to the officials because that was absolutely absurd. It was a 5-point swing. It's why the Knicks lost. And I mean, obviously, a big part of why they lost was the Neesmith.
It's one of the reasons.
It's why they lost in overtime. They shouldn't have been in overtime, and that's their fault for getting to overtime. But it's why they lost in overtime, or it's one of the reasons why. Again, there was poor execution by the Knicks, nonetheless. I'm not trying to defend that, but what I will say is, I think now for Tom Thibodeau, he's now confident in this bench unit. He's confident in Landry Shamet. Someone who plays with that dog mentality of, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give 110% because I know I'm not getting a million minutes per game. I know that my whole thing is I'm going to have to play at 110% because I'm getting 14 minutes. I have the time that I could do that. And we saw that. He was suffocating on defense. He was making those hustle plays. And DeLon Wright, the same thing. Matt, we got to remember, DeLon Wright got traded in a move that the Knicks traded Jericho Sims, their third string center, who actually, in Jericho's defense, played well in the playoffs. But, like, the Knicks back-end center, who they were not going to re-sign anyway. It was a throwaway trade, effectively, where they brought in DeLon Wright, and Knicks fans were like, huh? That doesn't make sense. We have a million point guards, but whatever. I mean, I advocated multiple times throughout the season, why is DeLon Wright on the roster? No disrespect towards DeLon Wright, because I've seen DeLon Wright on 10 million teams at this point, and when you see those journeymen, you kind of start to like him because it's just like a fun thing. It's like, oh, look where he is now. And DeLon Wright's had success in the NBA, and he's been a great defender. There's a reason why people call him like the deflection king and all that. He's excellent at jumping passing lanes, and the Knicks liked him. It came out after. The Knicks were big fans of DeLon Wright also in that trade. It felt like the piece that people were more excited about was Hugo Bassan, a guard who's not even in the NBA. He's a draft rights guy that the Knicks picked up because they like the ability to shoot from him because he's an elite shooter overseas. And it's what I focused on. I was like, yeah, let's see Hugo Bassan in the summer. I'm hyped for that. Well, DeLon Wright doesn't do anything. But I was wrong. DeLon Wright was great. And the fact is, that's what a lot of Knicks fans thought was, all right, DeLon Wright, whatever. But the thing is, he knows that. He knows that people weren't high on his name. Same with Shamet. These guys, they're not sure of it, but you're fighting for your NBA career. If you're right, a 10-year NBA veteran who thinks maybe this is it for me, I have to go out swinging so teams like what they see and want to bring in a savvy veteran like myself. For instance, the Knicks are not re-signing Campaign in the offseason. I would bet any amount of money on it because Tyler Kolek is going to be the backup point guard. So Cameron Payne's going to leave. He's going to walk to some other team where he can be the backup point guard, and we'll see what happens with him there. I'm rooting for him. But that does give DeLon Wright, if he wants a job, the Knicks would certainly bring him in as their third string guy who could definitely step up in big moments that we've seen. On top of that, I think the Knicks are handcuffed to giving Landry Shamet a good $3 to $4 million per year over a 3-year contract. And obviously it's not the offseason yet, and we'll have plenty of these live streams over the offseason, so not to jump ahead too much, but those two guys who have been the most impactful bench pieces in a lot of ways recently, they're the two of the three guys to have positive plus minuses on the Knicks right now, or prior to the last game, and the other one was Deuce. What we're seeing is guys who are fighting for their NBA lives, and it's working for us.
Yeah, so speaking of playing more bench players, Chris, in Game 5, Precious Achiuwa saw his most minutes played in this series with only 6 minutes. Crazy Bronx Bomba in the chat wants to see Precious Achua play more minutes in this series. Do you agree with him?
I mean, for me, I like the way that Achua was used last game. I also am fine with him playing a bit more, but for me, I think Achua is at his best when he's not playing like with other big men, especially now with the way Towns is dogging it inside. You want Towns to keep being at that big man down low. Something I've yelled at my TV constantly is yelling at Cat when he has the ball. Be big. Be a big man. Because it works. When Towns plays, I said this in a recent video. I honestly don't even think I've released this video yet, but I said this in a recent video that I guess will be coming out soon for you guys. Look, Towns is at his best when he's not playing like a wing or a forward. He's at his best when he's playing like a center, when his offense in a few ways mirrors a guy more like Joel Embiid, where the majority of the work is going to get looked to be done in that high post or low post spot. And then it's a luxury that he's the best shooting big man in NBA history, so he can obviously pop out there more. And when he's banging down low, teams are going to give him that extra step of space to shoot the three because he keeps scoring in the paint. That's what Towns did earlier in his NBA career. And in his second season, Towns was averaging around 25 and 12 points per game. Matt, do you want to take a wild guess what Towns' points and rebounds are thus far through these 5 games of the Eastern Conference Finals?
Does he average 26 and a half points? And I know he averages like a ton of rebounds, like 11 rebounds.
He averages 25 and 12 once again. And in his second season,
I had a pretty good guess.
You basically were there. And for Towns, it's one of these things where, like, when you see him play with that aggressive style, it works. He was widely regarded in year 2 as the second best big man in the league to DeMarcus Cousins, when blast from the past right there. But you see Towns play with a big style, and it affects the guys around them. You see one of your best players play with that fiery, grinded-out style instead of that touchy, dainty style. I think that's had an impact on things, especially just how the offense moves. So with Precious, it gets tough. The best situations for Precious is preventing Hack-a-Mitch by subbing him in for Mitchell Robinson when teams are ultimately just going to foul Mitch off the court.
Dude, that Hack-a-Mitch, I mean, it sucks to watch, obviously, but it's a really good strategy for the other team.
They're correct. Every team that's done it is correct to do it. It's just annoying that it's happening to us. It's one of those situations.
Yep. I'm happy to see Mitchell Robinson starting, so we know we can get good minutes out of him before they're able to resort to that strategy. Sitting him until the end of the quarter, like 3 minutes left in a quarter against Boston, was ridiculous when they just started. They put him in, and they just immediately hack him, and Tibbs took him out. And we're like, what did you think was going to happen?
I think it's evidently clear that for Mitchell Robinson, he should start most quarters and just not end a single one. It's what makes the most sense. That's why he works as a starter more than as a bench player. But Mitch has been the guy, and Tibbs did switch this up, which worked beautifully. Every game he started, these 3 games that he started, the first 2 he played till there was like 2 minutes left in the first. You can't do that to Mitch.
No, dude, he was the last minute. He was walking and giving up everything. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
he was left in too long. But oh my god.
And especially for a guy who's barely played over the last 2 seasons. Like, you can't burn him like that. There's no way to get fully prepared for NBA basketball outside of being on the court. It's why I always say, like, I know you're a big college basketball fan. I do think there is an argument to keeping guys in college longer if they're in, like, and this is just about NBA. This has nothing to do with college basketball in that sense. I think some colleges, it works to keep guys longer because you have some coaches who are going to set you up for the NBA in every way possible. But with all this in mind, like, there's no real way to prepare someone for NBA basketball unless they're playing on the court. The best player development is throwing them into the fire, in my opinion, because they're going to have to learn on the fly to a degree. And obviously, it's not saying figure it out yourself, but it's like, throw yourself into the fire, look at the film. It's why I'm such a big fan of the NBA G League and using the G League as an option, because I think it's why the Knicks do like guys who are in college for a while as well, or overseas, because you see these guys who have either played pro ball or they've played years and years where they're long gone from the days of high school where not all the courts you're playing on are 96 feet. So it's one of those things that it makes sense why the Knicks like these guys who have been basically groomed to be an NBA player by then.
So on the conversation of how long should you stay in college and does it make sense to stay, it makes sense, in my opinion, it makes sense to leave if your production in the NBA or your ceiling is more of a projection And if you are someone who is already producing in college and your ceiling in the NBA
Yes.
isn't seen as very high, then it makes sense to stay. For example, a couple of years ago, Duke had both Derek Lively and Kyle Filipowski, and Derek Lively elected to leave Duke while Filipowski stayed. And I agreed with both decisions because the team underachieved, so guys wanted to come back and run it back. But Derek Lively was such a raw prospect that if he went to Duke for another year and he didn't really start to improve, his draft stock would have tanked. Obviously, we know he's really good and he would have improved at Duke and he would have been fine. But let's just say he was like Jabari Smith on the Rockets, not improving. If he stayed in and didn't improve, he would hurt his draft stock. And then you got like guys like Dalton Connect, Kyle Filipowski. It doesn't matter when they come out. They're still going to get drafted in about the same range because you're not drafting them to be super young. You're not drafting them to have crazy untapped upside. You already can see the upside. You know what it's going to be.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And I think it's part of this, like, where the Knicks, they look for guys, especially because, I mean, it's great to say this. It's been a very long time since the Knicks have picked in the lottery. The last lottery pick they had was obviously one of the not too many missteps by Leon Rose picking Obi Toppin.
Dude, I like this might be people might.
Yes.
I know who I wanted. I don't know if I'm going to say his name on the stream right now.
You could say it. They'll agree with you.
Definitely wanted Halliburton.
You know my argument towards it. They'd never get Brunson in that case. So it's that give and take.
I mean, well, it's pretty obvious that Brunson's better than Halliburton.
It is. So we have that.
It's obvious.
Dude, so in reality, hindsight's 2020. The best pick would have been like Devin Vassell, but that's a different conversation. What were you saying?
So you see Chris Workhard in the comments. He said,
I very much appreciate that comment. I was going to mention it. Chris, thank you so much. I do grind on these post games. Every single game the Knicks play, especially in the postseason, I do get a bit lazy with it in the regular season where I'm just not home. But I am watching the games because, Matt, apparently some people, and I saw you shout out, thank you for having my back in those comments. Apparently I'm not a Knicks fan or something. I'm just
no, you're a fair weather fan.
I'm a fair weather fan, yeah. It's not like I wouldn't go to our friends' houses because instead I was in my bed watching the Knicks in freshman and sophomore year. And in those years, it was their dorms, so it was a good 5-minute walk. Or in freshman year, a 1-minute elevator ride. And no, I was locked in. Dude, I said in a video, no, I just keep these jerseys up behind me, and I just bought jerseys for no good reason whatsoever. Just to whatever. I don't know. It's weird. If you guys don't think I'm a real Knicks fan, it is what it is. I can't change your mind.
Yeah. So
but our stream guys are legendary, so it's fun.
Have you heard anything about this? LB Wavy saying that he heard Scott Foster is a referee for tomorrow night. Have you heard anything about that?
The refs are probably out, but I do not know who's reffing. In fairness,
if it is Scott Foster, isn't he the extender? Isn't that good for us?
That's the extender, baby.
Yeah.
We won with him last time. Also, shout out to Hugh for saying that I need to get a raise. I seem like a closeted Boston Celtics. Oh, you want to say that? James? You want me to say your last name too?
I was going to say.
Dox you, dude? I know your address.
I was going to say, you're gonna shout it out, and 2 seconds later, he comes with that.
Yeah, James, you owe me 4 drinks, by the way, from when 2 people bought a bucket at the bar the other night, and then you didn't. Just freeloaded. I didn't forget. Not paying for my first 4 drinks tonight, man. At least. No, 4. Really 3, I guess. We'll call it 3.
Dude,
I'm surprised that he said closeted and then said Boston Celtics fan, knowing the comments on Knicks Digest that I get.
Yeah, definitely surprising. But, dude, I'm also seeing more comments in the chat talking about how Karl-Anthony Towns has started to drive more instead of taking ridiculous threes. We used to call him, he tries to cosplay as Steph Curry, and it just looks so bad.
I think also it happened in that game 3 where in the first half he drove at Turner twice and just scored both times and then got into foul trouble and came out. When Towns
he likes doing that.
No, he does, but it's the biggest flaw he has is instead of playing defense, he fouls. It's not even that he doesn't play defense. He fouls on defense, which is terrible. But he realized 2 things. One, Miles Turner, who I want to make it very clear, I've said multiple times I would love for the Knicks to find a way to get Miles Turner as he shares an agent with OG Anunoby. It's a CAA guy. The Knicks could pull off some CAA magic or at least try to. So I'm not trying to say Miles Turner's bad, but Miles Turner's defense gets a little bit overrated off the fact that he is one of the best shot blockers in basketball, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. It's similar to Hartenstein in that sense, where yes, the defense is good. Nobody's arguing that. But it's almost like there's a bit of an overhype to it because you can go right through him the way you can't go through other centers. And Towns realized something. Oh, I'm a lot bigger than Miles Turner. I'm a little taller, and I'm a lot stronger. If I just run at him, I'm going to put him in positions that he's going to be uncomfortable in, and then either he's going to start fouling me, or he's going to kind of go off of me because he's going to try to block and he's going to hit me. He's going to get in foul trouble. The Pacers, their big man play outside of Miles Turner this series, Matt, has been not good. Tony Bradley's had some good minutes, but it's not
you know why. They got 2 guys injured.
Yeah, no, I mean, Isaiah Jackson's injured for sure. Like, that's a big part of it.
So they got big men injured. Then they have the next guy benched, not Bradley. Bryant. Bryant's benched for Bradley.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant was getting cooked.
And then we're going to see if Bradley actually is going to be back for the next game. He might still be injured.
Yeah.
But also we're watching Miles Turner has had troubles with personal fouls over the last couple games. He fouled out of game 4, I believe it was, and then had 3 personal fouls last night, as well as came with a -20 plus minus last night, which was just beautiful to see because you can tell when Karl-Anthony Towns puts his mind to it to go ahead and drive to the basket, guys just can't stop him. And the best part is when he uses his the threat of himself 3-point shooting instead of actually taking 3-point shots. He has like what has to be statistically one of the highest, most effective pump fakes in the game right now because people know he's the best big man center 3-point shooter of all time. And he always has centers closing out to him. So when he does that pump fake, it gets him up and he gets to create mismatches and other stuff down below. Only good things happen for the Knicks unless the Pacers draw a charge.
Yeah, exactly. And that's happened not that much as of right now.
They need to try more because those opportunities are there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Bronx Bombing, Knicks fans. Tell a Knicks fan to tell a Knicks fan to subscribe. I appreciate it. You guys have been killing it with the subs, man. We are 400 away from 16K. Our goal was 14K by the time the playoffs ended, and now we've obviously shifted it to 16. We can get there, guys. Would help if the Knicks won tomorrow so the season extends a little bit. So Scott Foster, do your thing. But Knicks guys, I don't know if I know this person or not.
I was gonna say.
I don't know if I know him. I know Hugh because he's been in the comments before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I can tell.
I'll refer to him back by the name on there. But
Chris is an Indiana Pacers fan. That is not true.
Thanks.
That is not true.
Knicks guys. Yeah, that's me. I'm a big Pacers fan. It's why I have a bunch of jerseys. And I said at the beginning of the season, yeah, dude, the Pacers aren't even good. They'll be like a 7th seed and get bounced in the first round. I clearly was upset that the Pacers beat the Knicks last year. But I did believe it. I'm still surprised. Why are they good?
No, they're really, really, really good. But we still should be up 3-2.
We should. No,
we should be up 3-2 with a fair chance at game 4. Give us some real reffing, man.
Yeah, it was absurd. But still, I don't get, even when I watch the Pacers, like last night I was like, this team is worse than the Celtics by so much. Like the Knicks were so much.
Oh, the Knicks. Wait.
The Pacers. Sorry.
No, the Pacers are better than the Celtics, I think, in the playoffs.
I don't think so. I
definitely think they are. Because I mean, look at the 2 teams that are in the finals. They're deep. They suffocate on defense, and they run the entire time. Is this what the new NBA is becoming?
Well, yes, but the Celtics run a lot, and they also did have the 6th man of the year. I know the bench was a little thinner after that. I'm not arguing that, but
I'm not just talking about one bench guy. I'm talking about 10 guys they can play. Oklahoma City, so many guys they can play.
That's a fair point.
Timberwolves, so many guys they can play.
And neither team is super star heavy. Yes, Shea's the MVP. That's not lost to me. That Tyrese is a great player. Neither of that is lost to me.
Dude, honestly, there isn't a top 5 player in basketball in the league in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean you can call Shea the top 5, I guess.
Actually, I definitely do need to call Shea top 5.
Call Shea a top 5.
No, we'll call Shea top 5. But it is looking like people are building their teams around 1A and 1B superstars instead of superstar 1 and then a co-star.
Corey C said he did not appreciate my comment about Lizzo when the Knicks were down 3-1. I said, and I'm going to say it again because I need to specify, I did not come up with this. I literally said right before the comment, as Eminem said, it ain't over till Lizzo sings.
Oh, yep, yep, yep. I got that.
Dude, blame Eminem, not me. Or go listen to Road Rage. It's a fun
All
song.
right, Chris. Chris, have you seen the stat about how going into Game 5, but I think it still holds true? Jalen Brunson without Cat has a really good plus minus. Cat without Jalen Brunson has a really good plus minus.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they were on the floor together, their plus minus was really bad. Did you see that stat?
I know that it's been obvious and that I've seen like some more minor stuff. I didn't know the plus minus though.
Yeah.
That is
So
news.
that's what the case is. That's some news for you, Mr. Chris Gallagher. But what would you think of having like after the starters go out, or you start the double big lineup? That's definitely you agree with that. Start the double big
Yes,
lineup.
100%.
Then what I'm saying, after the double big, you're gonna give Cat the first rest. So what I want to do is I want to leave Brunson out with Cat, and then when you take Brunson out at the end of the first quarter, that's when you bring Cat back in, and then when you want to put Brunson back in, you take Cat out. So you always have an offensive guy on the floor. And what this does is instead of having two really bad defenders on the floor at the same time, you have one guy who you can scheme your defense around, hide him. And then on offense, you give Jalen Brunson or Cat all the offensive, powers, all the offensive control, and they just go off on offense. But on defense, we're not getting hurt by the fact that two guys are terrible at defense.
I agree. I think that taking Cat out also makes sense because when you put Josh Hart in for him, you still have Mitch out there, so your rebounding is nothing to worry about. Your defense is going to be really good, and you still have Jalen Brunson out there. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. I also like the idea of with Cat, you can replace Mikal with Deuce, who has been phenomenal on Tyrese
We need
Halliburton.
Deuce specifically for TJ McConnell because I'm not sure if TJ McConnell has missed a midi yet.
Dude, I mean, the best defender I saw on him was Landry Shamet. Shamet's been awesome. I want him in the rotation next season, like all year long.
Someone called him out in the comments earlier here.
Yeah, someone mentioned it, and
Oh yeah,
I was
Jerry Tomchinsky said it's been crazy that Shamet just started to get that burn. He's been a menace on defense, driving the Pacers crazy, and he's absolutely right.
He is, and on top of that, what else we're like seeing is the fact that Shamet was great right before the playoffs. He was averaging double figures. He was shooting nearly 50% from three. He was shooting 49% from three in the final 10 games of the Knicks season. The man was on a heater, but he struggled early against the Pistons, and Tibbs benched him for Payne, and Payne had a good game. So he rolled with that until the conference finals when Cameron Payne was just not playing well at all. So it became this situation where he went back to Shamet, and it worked really, really well. So I liked the way that the Knicks were able to go out and do that again. And I mean, I think that the Knicks going towards Shamet is a great sign because he just fits the team better. The best way I could put it, I put it as this when they signed him as well. And this was before DiVincenzo got traded. But the Knicks also knew that if they wanted Towns, they knew the trade. They knew the trade since June. So the trade was offered because they offered the Timberwolves Mitch and Randall with that first for Towns, and the Timberwolves said no, but we will swap out Mitch with Dante and get it done. And the Knicks were like, we need to figure out salary situations with that, and also they were kind of on the fence about it because it kind of impacted when Mitchell Robinson would come back, had an impact on. Also, they wanted to see if they could get a deal done with Julius Randle where he wasn't going to ask for $40 million a year. Neither of those things happened. They learned Mitch was going to be out till January. They said December to January because the Knicks like to be a little secretive about injuries, and
As they should be.
You're 100% they're correct to do so. And he ends up coming back at the end of February, so he did get not like a specific setback, but it was more like he just wasn't ready. It was just taking longer than expected. So not
At least he came back. At least he came back. Number 30 never came back.
No, he did not. And Julius, well, he refused to take a deal that was any sort of a pay cut, considering he did it once. He's like, I did it once, I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it just because Jalen Brunson did it. So the Knicks were like, Minnesota it is. And so they made that trade, and Landry became their discount Dante. And obviously him getting that shoulder injury messed things up and also took his confidence away because when you dislocate your shooting shoulder, that's not exactly ideal. because, shooting the basketball.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure 8 out of 10 doctors tell you dislocating your shoulders is good for athletic performance.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know that. I got to
Yeah.
talk to more 8 out of 10 doctors. But, look. I'm so stupid, dude. But no, with Shamet, he has to stay in the rotation, and the 14 minutes are great. I like DeLon at 10, and I think there's an argument that you could play Deuce a little more than 18 than he played last game. I think it also depends on
a good argument.
There
a good
is,
argument
because he's so ferocious on defense. He messes with McConnell. He's great against Halliburton. So he's shown, because Deuce is physical all the time. The Knicks showed one thing. The Pacers don't like physicality. The Celtics did that as well. Drew Holiday, and I don't mean he's fouling. Drew Holiday beats you up when you guard him. Like, he's a physical player. He's not fouling. He's just a big dude. For a combo guard, Drew Holiday is a heavier guy. He's got a lot of muscle on him. He's super strong. Jalen Brunson's openly said that he's a brick wall to get past and that he's the best defender he's ever faced. So Drew Holiday, he was doing that to Halliburton. He was all over him. You're going to feel that it's a contact sport when Drew Holiday's guarding you. The Knicks didn't do that up until last game, which makes no sense considering they're a Tom Thibodeau team. This was the first time they looked like a team where Tibbs was coaching successfully. The Knicks, as long as they keep this game at their pace and play that physical, we're gonna beat you up defense, it works. And the Knicks were grabbing at Halliburton the same way that Nesmith has been grabbing at Brunson, and they didn't call it that way either. So the Knicks south is, well, we're getting fouled, and it's not fair. We're not doing that to them. They were like, all right, well, let's see what happens. And it worked. So we now know the criteria, and for what gets a foul, it shouldn't have taken this long. I'm not excusing the Knicks at all. But we did see that happen, and I think that's a big part of why we're seeing this right now, why we're seeing the New York Knicks have this success defensively. I mean, if they're going to hold the Pacers to under 100 points, the Pacers have a next to 0% chance of winning, because that means their whole game plan has been turned upside down. And when that happens, the Pacers don't know how to defend in the half court because they're so used to getting ahead on teams to where, as I was saying earlier, teams play catch up, they get rushed, they miss. Pascal Siakam's halfway down the court breaking out, and boom, it's another basket, and then it just keeps happening and happening and happening, and teams get flummoxed. So I think what happens is the Knicks were able to figure out a way to stop it because the Knicks watch film like nobody's business, and I think they finally figured out what they have to do. They iced the screens well, where they didn't really switch on everything. They switched on most things, but kept some guys home. And icing a screen is just forcing the ball handler towards the baseline, and usually the big man's going to drive. With Turner, it doesn't always happen, but with any other big man the Pacers play, when Turner's out, you could fully ice the screen because you know that Tony Bradley or Thomas Bryant is just going to roll to the hoop. And if Thomas Bryant's going to shoot open threes, I'm pretty much fine with that.
All right, Chris. Last game, Benedict Mathurin led the Pacers in points. Are we in trouble if this guy stays hot and gets a actually good game from Tyrese Halliburton?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to face Benedict Mathurin when he's hot. And that's the thing. Benedict can be a little spotty, but for the most part, he is a very talented shot creator, and shot creation is super important in the playoffs. So I do think it's something to be aware of, for sure. I think the Knicks also don't have a ton of tape on Mathurin. He's been injured a lot. They didn't face him last year in the playoffs at all. He was hurt the entire series. Then this year, coming back from some injury, it was kind of like a weird thing where he only played a couple minutes some of these games. But now the Knicks sort of know a bit of his MO because they've played against him when he's hot. It's the same thing of the Pacers knowing what the Knicks are going to try to do next game. It's the Knicks know what Mathurin's going to try to do next game, so they got to stop him. So it's just a matter of figuring it out. How about Benedict Mathurin getting more calls than Brunson? Yeah, Benedict Mathurin getting every single foul call was a bit wild. That was really annoying. Deuce needs 25 minutes at least. I would not argue that. I think he should be playing around 25.
I was going to say I also agree with that. I like that. 20, 23, 25, somewhere in that range. I love it. I think he's a perfect type of player for this series because he's athletic enough to play 25 minutes a game and run for all 25 of those minutes while giving Jalen Brunson some room to rest. And Jalen Brunson has had a couple of games this playoffs with foul difficulty. So if he does get in foul trouble, then we'll be okay because we are one bad foul game from Cat away from being eliminated.
Yeah.
Karl-Anthony Towns gets 3 fouls in quarter 1 of game 6 or 7. We're done.
Yeah, we're likely going to lose. So it's a matter of the Knicks. They need to look at this bench more. And you know they're going to try to attack Towns next game. It's one of the ways that they've tried to win throughout. They're going to try to attack Towns. More importantly, they're just going to try to play their own game. The Knicks are going to have to find a way to not let them do that. I am fairly confident in that. Knicks got to turn the defense up, way up in Game 6. They just have to do what they did last game. It's a matter of just they're picking guys up 45% from their baseline. So basically, like, they're going up 45% of the court to pick up Tyrese Halliburton. When Halliburton's getting guarded like that, they look less comfortable. So they're not letting the Pacers set up an offense as well. And because they were thinking, all right, well, we could stop the Pacers from setting up an offense as long as it's half court. Now they're just being super aggressive, and it's worked.
It's frustrating to see how long it takes Tom Thibodeau to make adjustments, but we have real evidence that there are adjustments being made. Look at the end of game 1 where they were free to take pretty much whatever three-pointer they wanted and made that comeback, and then compare that to the end of game 3, the first game we won, where Siakam, he tried to hit a 3 to cut the lead at the very end of the game, and there was a guy right in his face all the way outside the three-point line, somewhere where they were not standing in game 1. So Thibodeau, he does adjust. He just adjusts slowly. And the adjustment that we made last night was, just like you said, being physical with them, but not even being physical with them. We are chasing them at all times. It's like, Chris, have you ever played pickup? Or
No.
not even pickup basketball. Like, it's like in middle school when everyone is forced to play basketball and the kid who plays like soccer or something, who's super athletic, but really bad at basketball, will just stick to you at all times.
Mario?
That's the type. No, I'm not even talking about Mario. I'm actually talking about one of my other friends. But that's the type of defense that we need the Knicks to do. They don't even have to be good. Just stay with them at all times. Make them uncomfortable at all times. It's a game plan and an effort and an athleticism thing. It's not a defensive skill thing. So as long as Tom Thibodeau tells them, just stay glued to your guy at all times, the Knicks have a very real chance of forcing another game where the Pacers look really uncomfortable, make bad decisions, throw the basketball away, turn the ball over, and just be uncomfortable and lose another game.
I agree. I think it's one of those things, and as it was just mentioned in the comments, the Knicks got to start picking them up from 94 feet again, pressure the ball when Halliburton got it, and like Siakam, let him go off if he's hitting. That's the thing, though. Oh, shoot, double Chris. Matt will be back. He'll return. But right now we got a weird camera. So, look, I think, I first of all, I agree with that comment 100%. You got to pick him up 94 feet. If you're letting your perimeter guys switch, that's not an issue. We saw Josh Hart, after playing the worst defensive game that he's played in a Knicks uniform in Game 5 or Game 4, we saw him play great in Game 5 like normal Josh Hart. The entire perimeter guys outside of Jalen Brunson looked pretty comfortable on Tyrese Halliburton, and Jalen Brunson had a handful of good stops as well on Halliburton. So, looking at all that, I do believe the Knicks can easily find their way towards just getting everything going, getting these switches to work. And as long as these switches work, they're going to be fine. Like, they're switching their wings and their guards and their perimeter guys. They're not having their post guys switch, and that's shown to work. We saw the Nuggets do that against OKC a lot in their zone, and obviously it was a zone, it was a bit different. They were working switches on the perimeter a little bit. Meanwhile, what we're seeing out of the Knicks is them do that in a man defense. I love the way they're doing that. I mean, again, look at Denver. They started doing that, and they took a Thunder team that was way deeper, way better than them outside of Jokic being the best player in the NBA. Outside of that, we saw the Thunder really struggle sometimes with the Nuggets, a team that isn't necessarily the world's greatest defense either. They were able to stop them by using those perimeter switches and having the post guys sort of drop off. So it's a matter of personnel. It's why Miles Turner gets things a little bit difficult. But we've also seen OG Anunoby move on to Andrew Nembhard at parts and just play super help because Nembhard has not had a good series. Now, he's due for a good shooting game, so the Knicks need to be careful about that. But at the same time, we're also seeing them just really figure things out. And we're seeing the Knicks, with OG on that help, it's worked a lot as well because when teams get screen set, now OG's switching on to you, which is the last thing you want in the world, because then you're like, oh geez. Because he's on you. It's just, it is what it is. It's a terrifying reality, and I like the way that OG's been playing. I like the way that all of them have been playing. I think it's the right way to go about things as well, is to continue using these switches. And I think that, like, just switching on everything when it's your perimeter guys, not your guys who are down low, not your post guys, but when your perimeter guys, because, Matt, I was saying, like, as you do of the live stream, like we're switching with our perimeter guys. The guys, our post defenders aren't really switching as much, but we're seeing the perimeter switch at times, and that's worked really well for the team.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks, dude, the thing that frustrates me the most is when the Knicks show, like someone's out on the 3-point line and they show like they're going to slide to him. I can't stand that because those are open threes in the NBA. These guys are not even just the Pacers, but I mean, I'll give the Pacers credit because they deserve it, but everyone in the NBA now, they're all hitting, like, they're hitting open threes. Like, if you leave them open, even if you have a guy with a hand up but farther back, or a Jalen Brunson who's significantly shorter than the shooter, those are wide open threes and stuff that guys aren't missing anymore.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where switching works in that occasion, but I like that the post guys are not getting switched on because they did that earlier on. Like, we hardly saw Cat get switched on to, like, Tyrese Halliburton or any perimeter defender or any perimeter offensive player really all game. The Knicks have found ways to avoid that from happening, and it's had a clear impact.
Dude, they just got to keep fighting. It's a mentality thing. Karl-Anthony Towns, is it a coaching thing? Is he being told to sag when there's a pick?
I think they just don't want him to end up picking up a foul.
Because it has to be, because it's not, like I say, it's not a he's bad at fouls thing that he goes under the pick. He doesn't even, I'm trying to think, I'm not saying the right word. It's not going under the pick. It's when the guy, even when the guy picks and pops outside the 3-point line, like Siakam, Karl-Anthony Towns is standing by the free throw line. He's not even close to on it. And it's been happening all season. And it's definitely something that if we're seeing it, Tom Thibodeau definitely sees it as well. And there has to be a reason why Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't step up all the way on it. You could definitely quite possibly be right saying that it is it's a non-getting fouls thing, which honestly makes a ton of sense. It's still frustrating to watch because if you can get a hand up, that's when you can actually get real contests. And it's so frustrating to watch. First, the Boston Celtics hit a ton of threes, and then the Pacers. I am scarred after watching the Boston Celtics. I'm scarred from watching wide open threes.
That's super fair. And the phrase you're looking for is good old drop coverage. That is what
drop coverage. That's the term I was looking for. I wasn't talking about going under the pick.
I meant
what
drop
are you
talking about a little bit, but then when you said all season long, I was like, well, the Knicks play drop coverage all season, so that's what it is.
That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't work. It doesn't work unless you're on a non-shooter like a TJ McConnell.
If you're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves who have no shooting in the front court, then it works for them. But like most
it has to be on a player by player basis, but it can't be. The drop coverage can't be the normal. Like, it can't be drop coverage, and then if they're a shooter, you don't play drop coverage. It has to be you're playing up, and if it's a non-shooter, then you're going to play that drop coverage. It just looks lazy, and it makes me feel like they know they're playing a ton of minutes, so they don't want to run a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And I think we also, again, we saw that switch based off the minutes thing. That's what it keeps coming back to more than anything, is the fact that the minutes, like, we're seeing these guys not play too heavy, and it's helped them be more aggressive. It's helped them not have to worry about their gas tanks as much, thinking, oh, well, I'm going to have to play the whole game. Going to have to make the strategic decision to take this play off a little bit. They don't have to do that. They have a complete 9.5, considering Precious, man.
It is a 9.5 because Precious is in. If the other team is small, then you can use them. If they're not, you can't use them.
It's a size and a hack and Mitch caveat. So it's 9.5 more than anything else. And I love that, man. I love that he's just coaching the team the right way right now. Like, he's doing the right things. Dante handled last year. Handled that last.
No,
yeah,
I'm
Dante
saying,
was up there.
Someone asked, like, said the Pacers always have punk players, and I said they have the player who's in there to mix stuff up with James Johnson.
They do have James Johnson, who did say on record that he would beat John Jones in an MMA fight.
He was brought in. McConnell's not a 3-point shooter. He'll shoot the long twos. He's not a 3-point shooter.
Yeah, he's comfortable in that mid-range area, but he does hesitate on threes a lot.
Yeah.
If he could hit threes, he'd be an insanely valuable player.
If he could hit threes, he'd be like a JJ. I mean, no, well, you can't say hit threes and then JJ Redick. Yeah. Who would you compare him to? If he could shoot threes at like 35%, who would he be?
I mean, and this is the wrong comparison because he'd still be so much worse than the guy I'm gonna say, but there's a very, very diet or light version of Chris Paul there.
I don't.
In
He's more scoring focused than passing
in the
focused.
floor
Although he
general,
did, he actually shot 41% last year from three, and 2 years ago
he
44%.
just doesn't shoot at a high clip.
I know. I was gonna say there's a caveat though, because that's sandwiched by 4 years ago, and then 5 years ago 31.3, 30%, and then this year 30% again.
And
So
he doesn't shoot them often.
no, it's by a volume. It's by a
Mm.
volume. It's a volume thing. He shoots a lot. He's gonna miss more. But so I didn't see the numbers. I saw the percentage.
Also, you literally said that Tibbs should get fired 2 days ago. Yeah, I did. I don't think it's okay that it's taking a coach 3 to 4 games to figure out how to beat the Pacers.
Yeah, the East is soft, like so soft.
Yeah, like me saying that Tibbs is doing a good job right now doesn't mean that I think Tibbs should coach the Knicks for the next couple of years. I actually don't think he should. I think they've ran their course of them, but at the same time, he's
I mean, if
not
they
getting
ran into
fired.
an actually really good team, like if they ran into a championship caliber team, we would lose so bad.
Yeah. Like, Tibbs has not coached the playoffs well. He's coaching right now well, but you can't be like, oh, well, at least our coach coached game 5 well after the first 4.
Dude,
You
I
can't
mean,
say that. I'd be like, well, that's okay. Let's keep him. He's going to stay, but that's...
that's why with Tibbs, I feel no way whether he should stay or he should go. If he goes, I'm gonna say, all right, let's run it with this new coach. He stays, I'm gonna say, all right, Tibbs, let's run it again.
I'd prefer him to leave. I think it's a Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr situation where Tibbs is our Moses. He got us very far, but he can't enter the promised land. And Mark Jackson would probably love that analogy because Mark Jackson is deeply Catholic, rubbed anointed oils on Steph Curry's ankle, given Steph Curry's also deeply Catholic, so he's probably very down for that.
Yeah,
And
no
also,
way. The Celtics team this year was not a championship caliber team, not even close.
they just blew it. Like they were, I mean, Porzingis wasn't healthy, and that's a big part of it. But also, they were mostly healthy for when the series wasn't 3-1. Like they weren't gonna come back and beat the Knicks the game that Jason Tatum got injured.
The problem was they were never going to adjust. They were never going to adjust. They were willing to die with that strategy, even though I'm not saying they would have beaten the Knicks without it, but they would have at least played a lot better.
Yeah. Cut Tibbs some slack for getting us to the conference finals. Yeah, I definitely don't think he's a terrible coach. No part of me has ever said I think Tom Thibodeau sucks at coaching. I don't.
No,
I
why
don't
would
think
you cut
he's
him?
the right coach.
Why would you cut him slack?
Because he coached us to the conference finals.
Yeah,
which is a fair
we're
argument.
talking about winning championships.
Yeah, like the conference finals, it was fun for a moment, and then the series began, and I was like, I no longer care.
Nah, it's still fun. It's still fun. I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna what he's you don't pay people for what they've already done. You pay them for what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We want to be a team who's gonna win championships. I'm not saying I'm identifying Tom Thibodeau as a coach who can't win a championship. But if you, as the Knicks front office, identify Tom Thibodeau as a coach who can't win a championship, then you have to fire him. You don't go, oh, but look at what he did for us in the past. You say thank you. You give him a standing ovation next time he's at the Garden because he deserves it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make you hold on to him.
Yeah, just because he's one of the most winningest coaches in Knicks history doesn't mean that he's perfect. I don't think he's good for this team also. I think that's a big part of it. The Knicks are a team playing with it. What's up?
We need Dan Hurley. We need those words and that combination banned from the chat. That has to be an automatic ban.
I actually have 2 Dan Hurley edits for when
the offseason comes and those rumors come up.
And the rumors come to life. I'm ready to join the Dan Hurley propaganda train. I don't mind the idea of Dan Hurley at all. In fact, he'd be one of my top choices. I will say, if Tibbs is going to get fired, which I'm going to say right now, I'd be shocked if Tibbs got fired. No matter what. They got 2 games away from the NBA Finals. I don't think Leon's going to fire his friend after that. But, say he does. No part of me wants Mike Malone, or Taylor Jenkins for that matter. I'm not a big fan of either of those guys. I'm really not a fan of Mike Malone coaching this team. Not at all. He has the same issues as Tibbs, that he plays older veteran guys over young players all the time, and it gets incredibly frustrating. There's a reason why Nuggets fans weren't screaming and freaking out when Malone got fired. That has to be made very clear. Mike Malone's been fired twice. Matt, on Jets Digest, we talked about this when we were talking about potential head coaches for the Jets. You don't exactly want someone who's getting fired, because most of the time if they got fired, there was a good reason why they got fired. It's not like, well, they're a genius coach, they have a great future ahead of them, and they're probably going to win a bunch of championships, so let's fire him. That doesn't happen. There is a reason behind all the firings that get made. It's why I like the idea of Dan Hurley. Charlie Nix showed up and is just doing his thing.
Gotta love Charlie Nix.
I'm reading these comments.
Yeah. Dude, people, everyone's getting mad at me for getting the part where I said, I am not rooting for Tom Thibodeau to get fired. I don't think Tom Thibodeau should get fired. I'm just talking about what other media outlets are talking about.
Yeah.
No, and starting a conversation with it. I have not made a point either way. And what I said was, if the front office thinks he should get fired, then they should fire him.
Yeah, which is fair. That's
and correct. I said what he has done in the past does not affect whether I want him, or I'm not going to thank him. I'm not going to keep him along as a thank you.
Yeah, which you're right about. That's insane. That's the difference between good and bad organizations. We saw the Golden State Warriors fire a coach who brought them back into the playoffs and back into relevance. What'd they do? They fired him and hired Steve Kerr.
We've watched the Toronto Raptors fire the head coach of the year, and then they won the next year.
They won a championship the next year. It's correct. Like, I'm not saying Tibbs should get fired either. I don't love him as the head coach. A big part of me would rather them move on. But there's also that thought in the back of my head, Tibbs is by far not the worst coach in basketball.
Oh, no, but he's not in that kind. No, whoa. He is. The question is how high. The question is, one, how high is he? And the question, two, more importantly, is he, like, you need probably like a top 5, 6 coach to win a championship?
Up there. You can win with some great coaches, but
you got to figure out, is he someone who can win?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't mind the idea of Dan Hurley. I think he has potential to be a great NBA head coach. I think he coaches with a fairly modern style. He wants to coach the Knicks, which I think helps. But at the end, Dan Hurley loves his defense, which is a thing. The biggest argument that I'll pin for the Knicks firing Tibbs, which again I have said multiple times, they should fire Thibodeau. I'm not going to retract those statements because the Knicks won a game. I don't give Tibbs credit for figuring the Pacers out after 4 games and going 1-3. Like, that's not something that I'm going to give him credit for.
No, what I've been saying to you, Chris, is watching the Knicks and watching Tom Thibodeau's lack of adjustments, I am thinking, what is this evil that I'm not even considering that Tom Thibodeau is protecting us from with the Boston Celtics? We were not defending threes at all, and I'm like, what does Tom Thibodeau think is going to happen if they do defend threes? Because there has to be a big bad that we're not thinking about, because there is no way he is consciously watching this happen game in and game out.
Yeah.
We knew if we defended the 3-point line, they were going to do one of two things. They were going to sidestep and take a 3, or they're going to step backwards and take a 3. And as soon as they started actually defending it, it stopped going down, and we knew they weren't going to adjust. And when Thibodeau did that, we went on crazy runs in every single game, and I don't understand why we don't come out in that.
I think part of it is Tibbs insists that his scheme works, which is fair.
Did outplay the Pacers game 1.
We did. But I mean, overall, through the first 4 games, Tibbs got outcoached. And overall,
Tom Thibodeau's getting outcoached this series, but it's. I mean, I'm gonna say it's okay because he's up against a phenomenal head coach.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle's awesome.
If you're gonna win championships, you can't be getting outcoached by the other team. Because where the roster is standing now, if we make it to the finals, we're gonna be up against a team far better than us roster wise.
Yeah, and Dagnall's a better coach than Tibbs.
I'm not even talking about Dagnall. I'm not even talking about this year. Coming back next year, it could be the Thunder again, which I'm sure they'll be the odds-on favorites. It could be the Spurs, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo and Victor Wembanyama. It can be maybe the Rockets figure something out. Maybe we're up against Steve Kerr and the Warriors are back with playoff Jimmy and a phenomenal defense. The Knicks are going to be better than they're worse. Actually, Warriors-wise, the roster should be better, but then you never know what having the best player in the series. If the Warriors did make the finals, Steph Curry would be going nuclear.
Yeah, I think also with Thibodeau, the biggest argument for firing him is he's a good coach, and no part of me is going to say he's a bad coach because he is a good coach. there's the lack of adjustments, but as JJ Redick said once before he got hired as the head coach of the Lakers when he was still doing the podcast, he said most fans want their head coach fired, and their argument is a lack of in-game adjustments. So there is that to be aware of. It's not a guarantee that we're going to get a guy who's making a ton more in-game adjustments than Tom Thibodeau. On top of that, I think Thibodeau coaches, well, I don't think Thibodeau coaches a defensive style. Tom Thibodeau coaches a defensive style. The Knicks are playing a defensive style with great offensive players and solid defensive players. The Knicks should be being coached by a coach who's going to coach them in an offensive style that has great individual defensive players instead of a great defensive style that has individual good offensive players, because they're the inverse of what Tom Thibodeau is coaching them as. And I think more than anything, the argument to fire Tibbs is personnel. I think it's the way the Knicks have been built. It is not a Tom Thibodeau team. That is my biggest gripe with him. It is not necessarily anything about Tibbs. The minutes thing was a bigger issue than I actually didn't give Tibbs much slack for the minutes thing. I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought
the one thing minutes wise is when we're up by a ton, every single game, every single time we have a big lead, 5 minutes left, the starters are still in the game.
Yeah, that was absurd.
How has he not figured that out yet?
As Corey said, offensive style is why I'd like Mike Malone. That's the thing. Mike Malone, in a lot of ways, seems like a better option than Thibodeau in the sense of, like, he's similar to Tibbs, but it's the inverse of what I was just saying, which connects fluidly with the Knicks. I'd rather not have a coach who Nuggets fans were like, yeah, we shouldn't have fired him then, but I understand why they fired him. Like, that's not exactly the head coach I want. And maybe I'm being nitpicky, which is fair, but, like, I also think a big part of it, more than anything, is you look at Mike Malone, and he does not play the young players. I want to see Tyler Kolek out there next year. I want to see Ariel Hukporty start to get some burn one way or another. I want to see some progress with Pacome Dadier. I want to see what Kevin McCullough, who's 24 years old, can do. This is something that I'm not saying we're going to see that from Tibbs, but we're certainly not going to see it from Mike Malone, who, when Julian Strawther was playing excellent basketball, he benched because he got injured for a week. I don't like seeing that stuff. I don't think it's the markings of someone who should coach a Knicks team. I would rather see the Knicks go. I'd love Chris Quinn, assistant coach from the Heat. He also loves his job in Miami, being Spoelstra's right-hand man, so I think the Knicks would have to give him a Godfather offer, considering they're going to be paying Tibbs regardless for the next couple of years, whether he coaches the Knicks or not, unless he takes another head coaching job, but he's in his late 60s. I don't exactly think he would do that if he got fired from the Knicks. It becomes this situation, also who just definitely accepts a front office role at the Knicks. That's what they'd actually do. They'd be like, we mutually agree that Tibbs should move to a front office role and no longer coach the team. That's what they'd say, because they don't want to, like, make him look bad or anything by firing him. And also, it's easier for if another team wants to hire him. It's easier to kind of get that money off that way. But
so I just want to confirm what Billy R is saying in the comments here. According to NBA.com /referee assignments, 9 a.m. on game day is when we find out the assignments for whoever the officials will be. So people saying it's going to be Scott Foster, they don't know. No one knows yet.
That makes sense. It is day of, because I check NBA New York, that excellent Twitter account.
Wait, so Corey, after the Golden State Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler, they had the best defense in the league. So yes. Jimmy Butler definitely was real, definitely is real. And with Steph Curry on the court, playoff Jimmy definitely was a real thing. It wasn't as good as Miami's version, but it makes the Warriors into something scary.
I agree with Nick Yak also. The way that Tibbs uses Mitch is sort of incorrect as well. We either promote Johnny Bryant as the new head coach or we get somebody else. As Billy R mentioned, Johnny Bryant's the assistant for the Cavs now. The Knicks can offer him a contract. A kind of interesting coach for this team that would never happen is bringing back Woodson. It wouldn't happen, but it's an interesting idea in practice to bring back Mike Woodson.
Dude, I thought I misheard you. What a statement that is. Who do you want next? Do you want Fizdale back too?
No. Fizdale's actually going to get a chance to coach the Suns, though. They're going to interview him. TikTok
dude,
that's coming on Knicks Digest TikTok.
Dude, they should hire me to coach the Suns. I mean, honestly, there's nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing to do for the Suns.
I think the Gallagher Long duo does do better than Fizdale as a head coach, personally. Because at least we won't smile down 40.
Dude, yeah. I mean, Chris, if you watch the playoffs, you saw how washed Steph Curry was, right? Like, he hit nothing against the Rockets.
Sucks.
He's garbage, sucks. Dude.
That's the problem with Steph Curry is he's bad.
The problem, Curry, he just chucks. He just chucks. He's
just
terrible.
Not good. That's the problem with Steph Curry.
You can see the age weighing on him, bro. He actually has some wrinkles on his face. He has wrinkles on his face and stuff.
Yeah, he definitely can't shoot anymore.
There's no way J.R. Smith is actually getting interviewed for the Suns head coach.
I heard J.R. Smith. No, he just wants to. That it didn't actually get confirmed.
According to the NBA Central on Twitter.
Yeah,
That has to be a
exactly.
joke, right?
It's NBA Central,
I don't know
not
what that
Central.
is.
NBA Central is a joke on NBA Central where they just
Okay.
make a bunch of jokes.
Okay. There you go.
They try to trick people into promoting that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
well,
got
there's
that. I know what NBA Central was, so.
NBA, yeah, it's a big Twitter account for all this stuff. But yeah, I don't like the NBA Central stuff. I don't know why. I'm just like, I don't care.
Well, I
Just
couldn't
shows
even.
mo-
I
It's like I
couldn't
just
even tell
read
you.
nothing. It's like if I just told you randomly, like there's definitely one for like you know the football Twitter account and Instagram account ML Football.
No.
You DM me them for Jets content. I'm gonna be miss saying it.
No, I mean, like, no, I definitely didn't. I'm looking at them right now. I definitely don't. The JPA football player thing.
JPA football. Sorry, yeah.
So
JPA.
I'm pretty sure it's just people's initials, so they're all pretty much the same thing.
Got you. So it's like someone makes like JAP football, something like that. Like they make a slight difference and then go.
No, I know. No, I've seen it. I've seen
Yeah.
ES, yeah. No, I've seen it. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that stuff, like the NESPN, that stuff. So it's just that.
No, it was probably a LB. It's probably a screenshot of NBA Centel's thing on Instagram.
Let's see, NBA Central. I just saw it randomly on IG. These X accounts are ridiculous. Pay them no mind. Yeah, that's kind of what I agree with. I don't like reading nothing. Like, I could see it's NBA Central. Also, it's so far-fetched where I'm like, I'm not really going to believe it. But it's become this weird thing. And, like, I get it. Get your money because Twitter pays you now if you're, like, famous enough or getting enough followers or whatever. And congrats to NBA Central for making their money. I'm not hating on that. But it's like, I know it's going to be Central, and I just read something, and I'm like, I just wasted 15 seconds of my life. It's like, it's not funny enough. Like, there's times when where they'll genuinely crack me up. I'm not, like, gonna complain fully about it, but it's like, it's not enough, like, bang for my buck. I always mean to mute them, and I don't, because then I feel like I'll miss out on a joke that was funny, and I'll be mad. I want to watch this game already. I do too, dude. I wish it was. I wish it was tonight, man.
Bro, I can't believe Ben Shepherd is still actually getting minutes for the Pacers.
Brunson is cooking him.
I don't know I don't know who he knows or
Who do you know here, dude?
owes him. Like, does someone owe him money or something? He said, just give me minutes instead. Because, dude, he is just such. I'm going to put it nicely and say he is a very favorable matchup for all five of our guys.
And it's because he's been a solid perimeter defender. Like, in practice, he's been a solid 3-and-D player throughout his first 2 years in the NBA. But, like, Brunson is destroying that matchup. And now with Nesmith down, I mean, he's playing, but Nesmith played 16 minutes last game because his ankle's messed up.
That's huge, by the way. People aren't talking about that enough.
There's a video coming out on that on Knicks Digest probably tomorrow morning at this rate. It's the plan. We'll throw that up at 9:15 a.m. It's been made. It's been recorded. I might post it. I might post it tonight. We'll see how it goes. Chat, should I post it tonight or tomorrow? You guys let me know. When do you want this Nesmith video to drop? I like our night drops. Our night drops do well in Knicks Digest.
Yeah, I agree, LB. I would like to watch another T-Wolves game, but unfortunately the Thunder were pretty good. Tony Bradley's questionable. As of an hour ago, Tony Bradley's questionable.
Well, I'm dropping that tonight so I could drop Tony Bradley tomorrow and talk about the fact that Thomas Bryant is not able to guard Mitchell Robinson or Karl-Anthony Towns.
Not at all. No,
thank
honestly,
you, Corey.
there isn't anyone on that team who can guard Cat.
Yeah, shout out to Corey C because he just decided that I'm dropping this Knicks video tonight because tomorrow I'm going to have to wake up and do a Tony Bradley video, which has always been my dream, is to wake up in the morning and talk about Tony Bradley. So this is the best case scenario for me. But yeah, Matt, we'll go for another.
Well, Chris, you could always pull an ESPN First Take and talk about wake up and then talk about how Tyrese Halliburton is the face of the NBA.
Oh, I could just make stuff up. Yeah, true.
That's what Stephen A. Smith said 2 days ago.
Dude, it's one of those things where, like, I get it. I get what First Take is. It's not lost on me, especially after Max left. It's become more of what it is. It's an attempt to make clips go viral. It's clip farming. But, like, it's not lost on me. It's just, like, the show was fun.
The show was good.
It was a good... I loved watching Stephen A. and Max. They had
the
such
show
a
was
good
so
repertoire. Also, they were friends, so it worked. Like, there were two guys who enjoyed spending time talking sports together to where it was interesting. Now it's just... You should call it, like, Stephen A. and Friends. It's just people who Stephen A. chooses.
There already is the Stephen A. show, but they should just call that the Stephen A. show, hosted by Molly Karam. So that's what
Because
it
it's
is.
this weird thing where it's like, I understand fully why they brought Shannon Sharp in, especially after Skip and Shannon stopped like doing their thing. Like, I understand that, especially Shannon Sharp is an eccentric personality. So is Stephen A. Those
Shannon
two
Sharp, great fit there for Shannon Sharp.
100%. And they're both eccentric dudes who have so much respect for each other. I get why Shannon Sharp and Stephen A are there. But, like, it's one of those things where the rotating cast around Stephen A. Smith doesn't make sense because it builds less of a connection to the show. If you're turning it on and you're seeing, oh, well, I know Stephen A., but I also like seeing Stephen A. and Max because it felt like I was at the lunch table in high school and we're arguing over sports. Now it's like I'm at the lunch table and random people I don't know are joining in on the arguments, and it's like, I don't really know you, man. Like, no disrespect.
Except the people joining in, they're not funny, so they don't fit in with that. They're not like super entertaining, but they're way smarter than Stephen A. Smith, so it just doesn't really work.
But then you randomly got like Marcus and Markieff Morris showing up, and no disrespect to them, I love Marcus Morris, but like, why? Like why?
They've been on the other ESPN shows recently.
Yeah, they've been getting around, and good for the Morrises. Like, I have nothing but love for both of them. What Marcus Morris did for the Knicks in half a season and led to them getting Emmanuel quickly, which led to them getting OG Anunoby, who played a major part in the Knicks getting to the conference finals. It's all love to Marcus Morris. I actually wanted the Knicks to sign him over PJ Tucker, but they didn't, and whatever. What are you going to do? But, like, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I wanted to, I don't know, Stephen A. and Max worked in a way where now I'm like, turning it on, I'm seeing Shannon Sharp, who's fun, and Michael Irvin, who every time I see Michael Irvin, all I think is, we're losing recipes.
Dude, that was really funny, bro.
Dude, because it was just this like illegible rant. We're losing recipes.
Yeah, dude, that was really funny. Dude, have you seen his antics on the sideline for Miami this season?
Michael Irvin?
Yeah.
No.
He's fully broke out in sweats the entire, like, he's sweating the whole time because he is just. And he's like, it looks like he's just moving around, but all in one spot. It's so funny.
See, I think the problem with First Take now is they're trying to match Stephen A. with other people like Stephen A. Where Max Kellerman, who definitely had his fun and would scream and yell on First Take as well, it was different because it seemed like two really good friends just talking, but Max did have that level of groundedness to play off Stephen A. so well, where now it's like Stephen A. is having a conniption as he does, and the other guy across from him is throwing a tantrum, and Malik Worm is like their babysitter, and it's like, it doesn't hit the same. I don't know how we got to this.
With Max, there was enough substance. With Stephen A. Smith would say funny stuff, but there was enough substance with Max. But speaking of First Take, Chris, I know you're an Instagram Reels grinder. Have you seen Last Take?
Have I seen No, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. I don't know
how you haven't seen it, dude. It's just people who imitate them, but it's really funny. But a couple days ago, they had a Jalen Brunson lookalike contest. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
In the streets
Those guys didn't look like Jalen. Dude, that was 3 blocks from my apartment.
In the streets of New York City, they had
I know where it is. I go to the Nathan's hot dog cart to get cheese fries after too many White Claws.
There's going to be another location that you recognize because the winner of the Jalen Brunson lookalike contest was on the floor at MSG pregame before Game 5.
Dude, but he didn't look like Jalen Brunson.
Being interviewed.
I was about to say, I could have joined that contest. I could not have, but that dude didn't look like Brunson either. Not gonna lie, I watched you and the Knicks recap for news. Well, the Knicks recap, once upon a time, was host of Knicks Digest.
Dude, that's what I was laughing at. I thought he was saying, like, not gonna lie, like, he doesn't watch you for anything else. He watches you for news. And I was be like, what else would you watch Chris for? And then I stay off of those shows. I'm like, okay.
No. Corey C's the man. He no. Troy's a good watch. He's a good dude. All love to Troy. Hope he's all good. I feel like there was like this weird thing where someone thought I had beef with Troy. I have no beef with Troy. Troy's the man.
I can't imagine why you'd take that personally. But Nick said Bridges needs to hit his mid-range, but I disagree. I think Bridges hits enough of the mid-ranges. Bridges needs to stop being Ben Simmons. He needs to stop being afraid to lay the ball up.
Yeah, that's absurd.
There were so many times where he turns and throws it away, or he turns and does his shot, but there are open layups that he's missing.
I think what happened was it was working, and now he's in a shooting slump to a degree on that spot. He's thinking about it too much now.
The problem is he's giving up. He's giving up really good takes.
Oh yeah, and now he knows that, and it's in his head. He's in his head about what he's doing, which has hurt him.
Yeah, he's certainly in his head.
We haven't stopped Siakam. Got to get up in Halliburton's face. Hart's athleticism can do it. Bridges has to guard Nesmith, who will kill us as well. Nesmith being injured is making things a bit interesting, but I do like the idea of Bridges guarding Nesmith because Bridges is best as a help defender. So I do like the idea of not having Bridges be point of attack. I prefer Josh Hart if he's going to guard Halliburton like he did in Game 5 to guard him. To guard Halliburton, that is, and have Mikal kind of be this off-ball guy who's going to come in and add some pressure. I do like that. I'd rather him guard Nembhard because Nembhard is missing and Nesmith won't miss. So I'd rather the Knicks glue someone to Nesmith and just play no help. It makes more sense to me personally. But yeah, Bridges has to get out of his head.
Yeah. So Chris, yesterday I believe it was, Charles Barkley said this is a must-win game for the Pacers, Game 6. If they don't win, the New York Knicks are going to kick their butts. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think it's going to be hard for the Pacers to go back into MSG in Game 7 and win, first of all, 2 years in a row. But on top of that, after dropping 2 games where the Knicks are in control of them, at the same time, you just can't count out the way the Pacers get hot. So I don't think any game.
That's what I was saying. There is no other team, not even the Oklahoma City Thunder. There is no team that it is worse to play elimination games against, and especially multiple elimination games against, than the Indiana Pacers because they can get hotter than anyone else in the league.
It's them and Boston can get the hottest, and Boston fell apart, so it's the Pacers. And that's the thing that I underestimated about the Pacers as someone who said they weren't very good. I was wrong. They get boiling hot. And any game, any of these next 2 games, they can decide to hit 55% from 3, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Any game, they can just decide to win it because they can have a whole game like Nesmith's ending, and they can just win whenever they want.
Absolutely. So I think that's a big factor of it as well. No one needs to listen to Chuck.
No,
Chuck did also start talking about Towns' feet.
Dude, that was crazy. Yeah. That was crazy. Like,
that was your favorite part of the night.
I didn't look. Even if it was true, that's a crazy statement.
Yeah, I mean, well, basketball players do have screwed up feet because, like, just.
I mean, because they're jammed into basketball shoes at all times.
Yeah, they're jammed into basketball shoes.
But Chris,
the LeBron foot thing.
Yeah, we got to talk about
weird.
We got to talk about. There's a very good player on the New York Knicks who has been extremely ineffective this series, and that's Josh Hart.
Yeah.
What is wrong with him?
Well, I couldn't even tell you what happened in Game 4. That was the worst game Josh Hart's played in a Knicks jersey by far. That was disgusting. He didn't show the effort, which is the weird thing. But he bounced back in Game 5. Part of it is the man needs to be more confident shooting the 3 ball. Like, you've had seasons where you've shot over 40%. You've, in the playoffs for the Knicks, shot around 37% from 3 in these 3 seasons, or in these 3 years in the playoffs. So he should be more confident in his jump shot. I think that does hinder him, and it makes him overthink other things. Because when you don't trust your jump shot, you do start to overthink your situations that you're finding yourself in.
But did he ever trust his jump shot?
There's been years where he has. That's the thing with the.
He had a good regular season, though. My theory is his strength comes from hustling harder than everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem is that's all the Pacers do is hustle. They hustle and they're taller. I think it's just as simple as the Pacers hustle just as hard. They're taller than Josh Hart. That's why he looks so bad.
I agree. I also need to shout out Teddy White because Mitch on Siakam is a good matchup for the Knicks. It's been shown a few times that Mitch has had a good defensive ability on him. I wouldn't mind seeing Mitch guard him opening up next game and having Towns on Turner because Turner gives Towns the least amount of trouble with fouls because Turner's not really going to drive very much. So I think that's something. Low-key highlight of the night was Ariel Hukporti coming back. Yes, Ariel Hukporti played in his first basketball game since tearing his meniscus against the Philadelphia 76ers. Set a beautiful screen showing that he wasn't afraid of contact, slipped off it perfectly, caught an easy pass for a dunk, and Ariel Hukporti officially has more points in the conference finals than Joel Embiid. So that was great. That was a great moment as a Knicks fan just to see that happen. Also, I had to throw a shot at the Sixers because all Sean Bernard does is hate on the Knicks right now. So I got to get him back for that.
All right, so there's one comment I have to disagree with. I just want to find it here. Josh Hart needs rest minutes. Playing him 40-plus minutes is ridiculous. That's why he's making these insane mistakes. Josh Hart has only played over 40 minutes in Game 1. Games 2, 3, 4, and 5, he played 29, 34, 36, and 34. So I don't think overplaying him / fatigue is the reason for these errors. I think they're just people are matching his pace. So I have to respectfully disagree with that that response?
I think it's a mix of two things. One, when he plays less minutes, obviously he's going to become more effective because he's a hustle player. That's just simple hustle player stats. But on top of that, yeah, you're not wrong that
Well, of course I'm
the
not wrong. Of
Pacers.
course I'm not wrong. That was a correct statistic.
No, but I mean on the fact of like teams are matching his pace. I agree. The Pacers
No,
are
it
matching him,
it,
and
it does feel like he's playing a ton of minutes. But you check the box score, 34 minutes last night, which was the same amount as Brunson, Bridges, and OG Anunoby. But we know Josh Hart doesn't get tired. We know Josh Hart wants to play a ton of minutes.
yeah, he's happier when he's playing those minutes. And on top of that, I think with Josh Hart also, it's one of those things where they're matching my intensity. I need to up it. So we saw that in Game 5, where Josh Hart's like,
The thing is,
I'm the intense guy.
He can up it when it matters. At the end of Game 3, was it when he got that big rebound?
Yes.
Yeah, he can up it
Yes.
when he has to. The problem is, I mean, he's just too short. The same thing with Brunson. They're just short. When we're up against a really good team like the Pacers, when you have a guy who is skill level pretty close to Brunson, pretty comparable, and Tyrese Halliburton, but Tyrese Halliburton's taller, it sucks. But that's just basketball.
Yeah, no, and LB's right that it does feel like he's playing a lot more. His 32 minutes feel like 62. He's all over the court, which helps. And yeah, the short thing's a battle, but he's got to match that with something. And I think the way that he matched it in Game 5, because he did have a good game in Game 5, was the on-ball defense intensity. He was so good on the ball. He's throwing his hands at everyone who was dribbling the ball. He had his hands at them. He was ready to get a steal. He was ready to poke the ball out and send himself flying onto the court to try to get the ball. So I love what we saw out of Josh Hart in that Game 5. It's a matter of you can't use your rebounding intensity against a team like the Pacers. It's not working. So you have to find another way to use it. And what he's doing is his perimeter defense, because Josh Hart is a versatile guy. It's just like,
Do I have you? Okay, so no, I saw something perfectly that I was actually going to bring up in the comments until Drips11 said it for us. Celtics had a pride game and got in Game 5 and then got crushed in Game 6. We had a pride game in Game 5. ... I saw something on ESPN this morning. They had their betting specialist. He was talking about how the 3-1 lead, that team with the one, they actually historically perform pretty well in that game. But then that next game is when it's really bad for them. He, in his whatever infinite wisdom, lack of wisdom, whatever you want to call it, if you want to trust a betting man, he said take the Pacers. He would take them alternate spread up to minus 10 points, because he was saying the teams, they come out and fight hard, and then they don't let their foot off the gas. But the other team with that 3-1, now 3-2 lead, they calm down a little bit, because they realize they can't just sit back and rest. They realize they got to play really hard. The series isn't decided. The team they're up against can really play. So that, what you were saying, Drips, absolutely agree. I had the exact same point. I just hadn't had a chance to bring it up. So thank you very much for that comment. RSN, this is a fast-paced team, which kind of impacts Josh Hart's impact on the game. Exactly my point. I completely agree with that. Knicks win if their pace is being played. That is, whatever team's pace gets played, the Pacers or the Knicks, that team's going to win the series. We know the Knicks want to slow down the game. Pacers want to speed it up. Pacers want to do it. High possessions is how they want to work it out. And we got to remember, when we play that slow pace, we can play our starters more minutes because they get rested. When we send them to the foul line, they don't have to run as hard. They get to rest. They get to relax. Good things happen when the New York Knicks play their pace and not the Pacers' pace. We just have to make sure it doesn't turn into Jalen Brunson bringing the ball up, going to the corner, and dribbling out 14 seconds at a time. That can't happen. Other than that, we want to slow it down.
I agree. And I did, for wondering what happened, is I actually yanked my mic right out of the cord. So great
Classic
move by me.
Chris move.
Classic Chris move. I also got to turn my mic down these few decibels so everything sounds normal again. And we're good. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes because there's things to do, people to see. And I'm getting really...
And Zoom Premium to not pay for.
And Zoom Premium to not pay for because Ben Rogers won't buy it for me. And I blame Ben
Wow.
for that. So until Ben buys me Zoom Premium, or just lends me his, but I was afraid to text him today. I don't know why. I just didn't. Sometimes I don't want to bother him.
I know. Maybe can you guys hear me?
No, we're good. Oh, and Matt's gone.
Zoom Premium to not
and Zoom Premium to not pay for, as Matt mentioned. Guys, there are no words for how much I appreciate you guys on Knicks Digest Happy Hour. I'll take the hat off and say thank you for watching. You guys will be getting a Knicks Digest video in a couple minutes coming out to you, so make sure to watch that video, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, guys. There will also be a video before tomorrow's game. So thank you for everything. As always, appreciate it. Matt has Wi-Fi issues. I tugged my mic out of its socket, and I was going to call it at 7:30 anyway, so this all works. Cheers to all of you. As you know, not sponsored by White Claw yet. If someone knows someone who I can talk to about White Claw sponsorships, let me know, and I'll get that going. And then we'll have a lot more fun. Guys, thank you as always. Appreciate all the love. Have a great day.